Alright, we'll talk about the pump for a minute. Back here. Let's see where's the number at. We'll get this RF number. This is an RF 5C3P 7B 324 AC. Now the AC is supposed to be for 2008 through 2009 without the external filter. So you can see this passage they've added right here. This is to help the low diode sprag from blowing up when it's extreme cold weather or the filter gets restricted. And the only other thing I noticed that was different on this pump compared to the one that they sent me, because they sent me the wrong number, this passage right here. The one that they sent me is an AB, and the AB is supposed to fit the 2006 through 2007 with the external filter. Now you can see that they've added the passage here, which was normally not here on this. You can go ahead and do that. It's 70 thousandths wide, 50 thousandths deep that you need to cut a little notch right there. Only other thing I noticed different between this pump and this pump over here, or pump stator, is it had this little check valve right here, and it was in right there. I talked to, I didn't talk to Atra or ATSG, but I talked to WIT, because that's where we bought the pump from. And they say that they've seen them with it and they've seen them without it, and it doesn't matter. I rarely find that it doesn't matter. So the only thing I saw different was that this passage was blocked off. So I went ahead and I drove that out, and I drilled it. I mean, didn't drill it, I just tapped it with a 8mm by 1.25 tap. It's perfect. You just tap it. And I took a bolt, cut the head off, and notched it so I could put it in with a screwdriver and put some Loctite on it and put it down in that passage. The other thing that they have you do, these valves are different sizes for each one, so they give you this valve, and I believe it was this valve, that are different in sizes. So they made sure that you got the valves that you need to have, and I think they even overboard this one, and that's what was wrong with my pump. This lineup was worn out. This is your thermal valve. They say that you can block it backwards if you're in hot climates. I've never blocked one back. I've thought about it, but I'm not going to do it. You make sure that orifice is in there, that screened orifice. But the other thing that you can do is back here on the back, and they say they have a problem with it blowing fluid out the vent. So you can either buy the Transgo kit, and they have you bolt a plate on here and drill this passage out, or you can just drill it out yourself. I just took a 1/4-inch drill bit, I started a pilot hole, and then I drilled it 1/4-inch, and it opened up both sides of the passage there. Then it also is perfectly matched for an 8mm by 1.25 tap. I went ahead and tapped it. I didn't tap it all the way through. I just tapped it about 3/4 of the way, and it took me another bolt, cut the head off, notched it so I can put a screwdriver on it to put it in there, and I'm going to put Loctite on that, and I'm going to block that passage off also. I think that's about it as far as this goes. We will put the pump together, and then we'll move on. You put some red Loctite on there. Dropped it down in the hole. Alright, that should be plenty good. We're still below where we notched it out. And so it reroutes the fluid from venting there. It goes to a different part of the pump, so it's supposed to cure that. And something I've always done on all my 5R110s and E4ODs, 4R100s, so when I put the pump bushing in, I notch this out. I just use a die grinder with a bit on it, and I get right in there and notch it out, and it allows more fluid to get back up in there. So I just take a round file and knock the burrs off right here, and it's good to go. A little bit of 3M weather strip adhesive, put on the back side of my seal. And go press this in. And I took a flat stone. I have a builder's bench stone from Transtar. The part number was T-35289, and it's just this thing right here. And I flat sanded this surface, the stator and the plate, and it wasn't in very bad shape at all. It took about 5 minutes on each surface except for the stator. They had it pretty well flat. It took about 2 minutes on that. The dot faces up. It's got a rounded edge right here that faces down. This square cut edge faces up. These notches on the inner pump gear face down. Again, the dot faces up. Make sure your gear is pretty much centered on where the bushing goes. And then we got to line up our separator plate, and I believe go right just like that. And our stator, let's see which goes where. It's only going to line up one way, so it's not that big of a deal. It just helps if you know where it goes. You have to sit here and try to line it up. Here we go, right there. And we're going to get 2 of our tail housing bolts. There's 2 threaded holes in the pump stator here. We're going to start those bolts into there. And then our line-up band on the outside. Alright, 3 of these holes, and I need to get my old stator. Well, I just use the turn spring. I always mark my stator so I know which bolts they are. But this lines up on 3 of these holes. Those 3 right there. So we need to leave those 3 out. of you that have been worried that I don't know how to use a torque wrench, I do. And I do have them. 23 foot-pounds. And looky, I do know how to go in a star pattern too. Okay. Molded piston. Put our return spring back on. You can see on our return spring it's got some marks on it. That's from what actually happened on this tranny, is the coast clutch drum came apart, which is a pretty common problem on these. And I had the new drum, had it all welded up and everything, but I should have checked the tooth count on it because it was wrong. So I went through all that work for nothing. So I'm still waiting on the new drum to show up. This is what happens on it. Splits apart right there. So we got a new drum coming. Got a 2-tab washer. Tabs are going to fit in those holes. This bearing here fits on top right here. Let's see what else we got. Let me put our O-ring on. Let me put our sealing rings on. Go ahead and put some green grease in about 3 different spots on here. Will help hold that sealing ring in there. And these go together with that, like that, not like that. Go ahead and take these and give them a little tweak and help keep them up in the groove. O-ring on. these back out. This one is for lockup. It does the same thing. Okay. Go ahead and set this back to 0 before we put it away. The only other thing we can do at this point is do our valve body. These have a silicone embedded separator plate. These are super bad about this deteriorating, so always replace it. This little thing right here has a spring and check ball in it. You need to make sure that it is not messed up and clogged. I don't know that you're going to be able to push that thing down. Yeah, there it goes. Just make sure the spring's not broken or anything like that. Do not try to take that thing out. It will ruin the valve body. You will be replacing it. It's not made to come out. And try to remember which bolts got here. There we go. There's several problems right here we need to address. One of them is the temp sensor. That's about the #1 failure on these units, besides the pump. Temp sensor and the internal wiring harness. I always replace them. Now, that silicone is going to compress, so we're going to have to do that a couple times. One of the things we need to address is this little sensor right here. The early units had 5 of them. I think it's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So this was A, E, C, D, B, I believe. A, E, C, D, B. I'm pretty sure that's the way it worked. Anyway, if it has these in there, they don't. The early ones had the wiring harness that hooked up to it. They don't really do anything. They don't use them. That's why they started eliminating them. But they did still put the switch in there, and they're prone to leaking. So anytime I find these, I always buy the Sonax plug for it. And 36940-7K, I think. 17K is Sonax's number. And this came from WIT. And their number was an S136741-6K. So it just comes with an aluminum plug with an O-ring. Lube that up a little bit and shove that in that hole. And however many it had is how many I would put in there. Because even though that I don't use them, it still causes problems. One of the other things we got is our temp sensor. From WIT was a D13643-7A. It's got this little tab that locks in right down here. Put it in, twist it into place. Pressure control solenoid A. Very common problem. It's E-clip on the back here. And you notice these little tabs right here. We need to make sure that our new one is just like it, or it will not go in. And there we go. And it's going to lock into these little tabs that are notched out right here. Put our E-clip back on. Another common problem with these is the manual valve getting worn, and this is a little bit worn, so we can probably just put our new manual valve in. And Sonex's number was 36940-22. WIT's number was S136741M. Now they make an oversized one if your bore is worn out so bad that you need to bore it out and put an oversized one in. You can do that. Our wiring harness from WIT was a D1364446A. Has the locking tab. It's going to go right there. This is to protect your pins. I think we may have to take it out. No, it's going to be okay. There we go. This harness hooks around. Right there. 25 Torx bolt holds it in right here. another 25 torques holds that one down. This goes to our neutral switch. I think I already said that. Just took that out of the way. Got a gasket here. Our hold down plate. 10mm bolts. Gasket's off just a little bit. All right now. Our gasket's going to go on the back side here. And the O-ring to seal that up. Alright, so I got to change camera angles and we'll be back. Right down on the bottom of this case right in there is a screened orifice. You make sure it's in there and that it's free of debris on both sides of that. You're going to lube up this case right here. I'm going to take this piece right here, set the case on it, and the piston's going to go inside the case. Our return spring and our snap ring, the short end of the taper up towards us. And I got this little, that's a 4L60 pump slide, and I adjusted it to fit onto there. Got a 1/2" drive 9/16 socket to take up most of the slack. It's actually going to end up about right there when it's in the case. And then we got our nut, and I'll tighten it down with the speed handle. And I'll put my snap ring in. Let's get all that done, we'll be back. Okay, here's that orifice that we were talking about. Make sure it's free on that side. On the back side of the case here, there's two little grooves right here. There are going to be sealing rings that go in there. And put some grease in there to help hold them in place. And you know, normally we resize these rings to where they're smaller or where they fit on there. We actually want to expand these out so it expands out into the case and stays in there. Then once we get that down in the back side of the case right there, down right there, this bearing is going to sit in there. It's going to sit with those feet up, and then this ring gear is going to fit on there, and this bearing is going to sit on top. And on top of that, we got a spline in rear planet with our clutches. And if these clutches are bad, you're going to have to replace the whole planet assembly. That's the way it comes. It makes it really cheap. So once we get all that in the case, make sure your screws turn it nice and free and lock them clockwise. Once we get all that up in there, up in the 12 o'clock position in the case right there, right in there is our snap ring. Our tips are going to go up there in the 12 o'clock position. This one's flat, but you'll notice the taper of the tips. You want the short tapered end up again, like always. And once you get that done, we'll be back. Alright, our direct drum. I already put the bushings in everything. Put a bushing kit in this also. And I don't have the bushing driver to fit these bushings, and what I found was this is out of a differential shim kit for the carrier, and it fit really nice. I had to shave a little bit on the outside off out here, but it fit right down in there, and I just used another bushing driver and I was able to press those in, so that worked out really nice. And on our pistons here, they're all rubber molded. We've got our outer piston here. Our bevel spring, the dish up. Balance piston. I'm gonna put the short end of our taper of our tips of our snap ring up, and we're gonna put it over here so that we got this rib holding the snap ring in. It's got all the way around the snap ring. Alright. And we're going to keep the opening of our steels together. Get the right clutches here. Flat snap ring, and it's pretty good on our clearance. Oh, one thing I was going to mention about those sealing rings in the back of the case, they are scarf cut like that, so that you want the opening put together like so, not like so. I got this plastic washer. It usually stays in here. Go ahead and leave it in there. bell valve plate with the dish up again. We want the piston, balanced piston with the lip facing down. I'm going to put the short end of the taper of our snap ring up again. Alright, we got this bearing going to sit on the back. Cushion plate, steel. Here again we're keeping the opening together. Alright, clutches. How do I screw that up? Flat snap ring again. And on this drum in the front, this is the sealing rings that I have, and they go like that, but we're not going to put those on there. And this bearing's going to go on the front, and we're going to put 4L60E reverse input sealing rings on here. Kind of mash those back down in the groove there. Get them kind of centered. Take our resizing tool. It's going to be difficult. I don't know. Well, if it keeps on like this, I'm gonna go get a hose clamp. There we go. Just gonna leave that on there for a while. On the back side, we've got our hub. It's got this 3-tab washer. It's actually gonna stay in there. The tabs fit in those 3 holes. It's gonna stay there, so I'm gonna leave it. Our front planet. This bearing goes on top. This bearing goes in the back, facing that way. Then once we set this down on the reverse drum, center support. We got a Orifice screen in here also. You make sure it's nice and free and is in there. Return spring or snap ring, short end of the taper up again. And a 2-tab washer. The tabs go in these 2 holes here. Sealing rings are going to go, where's our opening? They're going to go just like so. Put our direct drum on here. We're going to air check it, make sure everything's checking okay. A little on the sloppy side. I believe we're going to be okay. Okay, now what we're going to do is put this drum down on there and do this fairly quickly. I don't want the sealing rings to expand out too far. Put that drum down on there, put our sun shell on. Here we go. And what we're going to do, we're going to pick this whole thing up. I'm going to turn the transmission on its side. I'm going to shove all this up in there at one time. And then once I get all that done, we'll be back. Alright. You got our pressure plate. This side's going to go down, flat side's going to go up. I'm going to put the opening of our steel at the 12 and 6 o'clock position. Put our center support in with these 2 holes facing at the 6 o'clock. got new bushings in there, so it's going to be a pretty snug fit. This camera's right in the way. Okay, I'm gonna have to get this camera out of the way. Once I get that in there, I'll be back. We got the snap ring goes on the center support, has a bevel to it. We want the bevel up. We want the opening of this down here at the 6 o'clock position. Make sure that snap ring's all the way back. Flip this up on its end. Got our Orifice lube seal. Goes in the back here. This tab fits right down on there. Make sure we're all the way in. Our washer for back here. Make sure there are tabs in between one of these. Park actuator, pivot pin, spring. This is going to loop in right here. This is going to go right over here. Put our output shaft in. There we go. And gasket on. I already put the seal in the back of the housing here. I put a little bit of 3M weather strip adhesive on it again. I don't have a bushing driver big enough to put that in, so I put my socket on from Adapter Case for what the heck does this do? I think this does U2 240s, 250s, 140s, 150s. I believe that's what that's for. I don't remember exactly right now. Anyhow, it's the right size, so I was able to put that in the arbor press and press it down. And the back right here is an O-ring. Put the O-ring in and lubed it up. This is the 2-wheel drive version of the rear seal. housing on. This bolt with the end of it on there goes up on this corner over here. .13mm bolts. Speed sensor. Got our new O-ring lubed up on it. 8mm bolt. Finally got the socket for doing this. This Transtar's number is T-9008. Adapter cases number is T-9008AC. You got to heat this up with a torch because it's got Loctite on it. Otherwise you will break this. So heat this up with a torch, get that loose, and then you can take this off. We're going to put Loctite back on it also. But we're not going to do that right this second because I got something else to do before. We do all that because I'm going to have to put it into park. I used the new tool I got for right here for trying to get these linkages out. Kind of got mixed feelings about it so far. It's from Tech Pack Fits All, and it's a little drill. It goes around the pin there, and it's supposed to open it up, and it gives you a little bit more room. Still is not the cure-all. Excuse me. I don't think. Still not enough room to get in there. This needed to be a little bit bigger as far as I'm concerned. But it did help. I was able to get it out. Not with a pair of dikes. You still can't get in there with that. But I could get 2 screwdrivers in there better. And it did come up. So far I've done 2 like that. I've done an E4OD and this 5R110. I'm waiting to do a few more to make a video on it. Like I say, mixed reviews. baby hill bar, pull my lever seal out. New seal is going to go with this end facing in. Get that nice and lubed up all over, even on the outside. Helps it go in easier. Just drive it in flush. Our linkage on the outside. One thing I forgot to mention on the teardown is this little pin in here that follows this right here. Make sure that that's not starting to wear away and it's in good shape. Otherwise your reading is going to be off for your neutral switch. We'll put our park rod up inside the actuator the back there and inside the guide. Two 8mm hold that down. Gonna go ahead and get this all lined up.
Use that bill house that's in my office for that 680.
Alright. Our roll pin, one end's a little narrower than the other end. That will allow you to get it down in there started. And our roll pin for our linkage to hold it into place. And you don't need to get radical with this thing. It just needs to be in flush. You don't need to drive it down any further. All it's going to do is make it harder for you to get it out. We'll go ahead and tighten this down. And go ahead and put this in park. And I'm going to go ahead and put Loctite on the threads here, and this needs to be tightened down to 148 foot-pounds. Look, he has more than one torque wrench. to prove to you that I actually used it. I'm finding that the ratchet won't actually fit in there very well. It needs to use a extension on it. $13mm. Here again, don't get radical with it. 50 torques. You just want it tight. You don't want to warp the case. One thing I did forget to mention on the rear sun gear that goes in the rear planet, actually not the sun gear, the planet itself, where it sits on top of the ring gear. The early models had a washer on each side of that planet. The late models don't take that, so, and that's what this one is, a late model, so it does not have the washers on there. That's why you did not see me put them on there. Waiting on that coast drum. We could actually put our valve body on right now if we wanted to, but I think I'm going to leave it off. And we'll be back whenever we get our coast clutch drum. I got a piston, return spring, snap ring with the short end of the tapers up. The drum has been welded. On the back of this drum it said diesel. Of course, this is a gas model. So I tried to find the information. I didn't find it in any seminar book. I didn't find it online. I called ATSG. They said they didn't know. But I talked to a buddy of mine and he says you can swap them out. So we're swapping it out. Everything looks the same. All the feed holes, everything looks identical. We've got our diode sprag, it says this side up. Sprag's turning counterclockwise, locking clockwise. Flat snap ring on top. Our planetary. This gets a little fun trying to get all this lined up and splined up at the same time. Once you start getting down a little bit, it starts hanging up pretty good. You just got to keep messing with it and you'll eventually get it down. Got one more clutch to go. Alright, that's down, I believe. And we got this bearing. It's going to sit in like that. Our ring gear. This bearing is going to sit on top. I'm going to change camera angles and we're going to put all this in at one time. Alright, I'm probably going to have to lean this towards me so I can get that down in there. I'm going to drop it all in at one time. The one that has a PTO gear on here is really fun to try to get on. And don't make fun of my weld. Yes, I know I don't weld very pretty. The one that has a PTO gear on it, you have to put the clutches down in here first and then spline all that into the clutches because the gear is sticking out here. And the way I do that one is I get a coat hanger, actually I get two of them, and I wrap around that to hold that all together and kind of make a handle out of it. Now they do make a tool for it, but I don't own it. And then I use that to get that down in there. We got our flat snap ring. Opening is going to go at the 6 o'clock. Not too far. There we go. Gonna put our pressure plate in. We got a wide opening here. It goes down at the bottom. This notch goes up. Lube up our case. I may have a fun time with this pump gasket. When they put it in the kit, they mangled the crap out of it. I think I'm gonna have to put some guide pins in it. Keep this in place. Now we gotta put the inlet for our filter down here at the 6 o'clock. I'm probably going to have to move this back because this camera's right in the way in order to get this in there. Pump shaft's going to go with the notched in up. And pump shaft, input shaft. This camera's right in the way. Alright, on your pump bolts to get the washers off, and just get you a pair of pliers and your impact. Alright, now I did all of the other bolts without this happening. Put it on camera, and it wants to be a pain. Alright. Put your new washer on your pump bolts, 10 millimeters for the pump bolts. Make sure your shaft turns. It's a little tight. But we got new bushings in it, sitting with all the weight on it, so we're fine. Turn it on its side and it'll turn a lot easier. Put your output flange on. It just slides on, 15mm bolt. And air check this thing. Make sure we're good to go. This one here is going to be a little difficult maybe. Low reverse in the hole in the back of the case. Forwards. Intermediates. Directs. And let's see. Gotta get a plate up here. These are coast clutches here. That was air applying a minute ago. Maybe I cut a ring. And overdrives. I'm going to pull the pump back out, double check them rings because that's blowing quite a bit of air. Make sure we're okay there. Once I do all that, I'll be back. Let's see if we can get this done before we run out of memory card. Alright, it was not cut. It was just stuck up in the groove because of all that thick grease that we had, so it'll be fine. And put our valve body down with our gasket. We gotta line up our manual valve. We got long, medium, and short. All the long ones go on the outside. All the medium ones go on the inside in here. And the short ones go down here. They're 8mm. Now these bolts are going to loosen up on us. We're going to tighten them down. Let them sit for a little bit. Tighten them down again. And then might do that 2 to 3 times. Plug our neutral switch in. Helps turn it the right direction. I'm going to put some fluid down inside the pump there because these are bad about wiping pumps up on startup. I'm going to put a little bit of fluid in the torque converter on this one. I don't normally do all that stuff to normal rebuilds, but this unit here sucks fluid so fast you can't keep up with it. So what you need to do on this one is put about 8 or 9 quarts in the pan, crank it up, immediately shut it off, and put about 8 more in there before you start it again, 8 to 9, and then start checking it after that. And make sure all your grounds are really good on this, and that's another thing that'll wipe out a pump. Other than that, we got our filter. This is our late style filter. All we got left is the pan gasket. put our filter in and our pan. So that's it for this rebuild. There's no sense in you watching me put that stuff on there. I'm gonna have to let this sit anyway because these bolts are gonna back off, like I said, and I'm gonna have to do that, and I'm running out of memory card. This is all we got for this one anyway, so we'll see you on the next one. There was one other thing, input speed sensor O-ring on there, 8mm filler tube O-ring.